How's it going out there, YouTube? My name is Jesse, and I am the curator for the Golden Age, and this is another...
Lost Heroes of the Golden Age.
Yes, this is Lost Heroes of the Golden Age. And I found a really weird character.
Now that's an understatement.
Come on now. This wasn't one that I was planning on doing. I found this one by accident.
Funny how often that happens.
Really? Yeah, this is one that, in fact, the whole publication I found by accident. I was planning on going into Holyoke comics and covering some more of the heroes, because I haven't really done a whole lot of them. And I found this one from Bilbara publication, and it's been... Let me make sure that was Bilbara. Yeah, Bilbara publication came out before Holyoke came out. This is an interesting thing. There is a number of names in the comic books that and artists that went on to Holyoke, and that's why a lot of people thought that Bilbara was part of Holyoke Publications, but they weren't. And Holyoke is actually an interesting thing. They weren't around for very long, but they were around long enough to make their mark on the comic book world, which we want to go into sometimes. But right now we're doing Bilbara. This is Tornado Tom coming out of Cyclone Comics. Now, I'm going to explain in the opener, there are 5 issues, but I was only able to find 4 of them. I would like to be able to find all 5, as short and weird as these comics were constructed. But I think this is one that's just interesting enough. He fits every concept of the Golden Age. Doesn't really have an origin story, but does have a couple of cover appearances. And every one of Tornado Tom's story is the featured story. So let's go into a little bit about what I've been able to find about Bilbara and the hero specifically. And then we'll also cover the first appearance. And then, you know, we'll know a little bit more. And I definitely want to cover more from this publication. I found some heroes that are just about as interesting. They were all written kind of the same way. It was 1940s. I mean, we really hadn't dived into what we wanted to see from superheroes in 1940 anyways. Not as so much. Anyways, let's go ahead and cover this lost hero of the Golden Age with Tornado Tom. Tornado Tom. Tornado Tom, Tom Kelly, first appeared in Cyclone Comics #1, 1940. The original publisher is Bilbara Publishing, created by Unknown. I don't believe I've covered Bilbara before. One of the quick things about Cyclone Comics is there is 5 issues of this. I've only been able to find 4 of the 5 issues, number 1, 3, and 5. And try as I might, I cannot find issue number 4. I have gone to a number of different sites that I go to for comic book information to try to fill things out. 2 things that I've noticed: I can't find issue number 4, and I can't find the first page of issue 2, or no, issue 3. So issue 4 is missing, and the first page of issue 3 is missing. Now, the weird thing about Tornado Tom is he was given his powers by a cyclone. It says that an honest, hard-working young farmhand was caught up in a cyclone and whirlwind. He was in the whirlwind for an hour, and he was given strange powers. And what this does is it makes him strong, fast, and extremely durable, which makes absolutely no sense. Now, in the second issue, it makes a little more sense, because as he's getting ready to be defeated and killed by the bad guys, he calls on Boreas, which is the Greek, I don't know if it's a god, it's the personification of wind. So, in the second issue, he calls on Boreas to help him, and that is the only time it is even hinted at or mentioned. It's not in his origin story. It's not mentioned in the other issues. That's the only time it pops up. And you don't even see Boreas. You see wind coming in. It sweeps the bad guys away and restores Tom to his peak performance. And then he's able to defeat the bad guys. Now, this is really weird. And his first issue is fine. He finds out that he's got no memory of who he is. And I actually like the introduction of the second issue more than the first. And the introduction in the second one is Tom has been picked up by a cyclone whirlwind about for hours in the air and eventually dropped uninjured into another state and has absorbed something of the character of the great wind itself. Okay, that's a little long-winded, but it's right here. He is stronger than a dozen men, has lightning-like speed, boundless energy, and great courage. And I think that sums up his powers a lot better than in the first issue. And the second issue is a really stupid story. It's about a milk conspiracy in a way. He's trying to get to the next town because he has no memory of himself in a milk truck. It's actually it's like one of those rigs that you would see transporting fuel, but they transport milk. I've seen those on the road before. But there's a mob of gangsters that stops the milk truck coming in, and they destroy the truck because they're a gang in a small town. And they don't want milk deliveries because the gangster in charge waters down the milk and then charges people a lot of money for it, which is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Now, the third story is kind of all right. He's saving a federal agent from being assassinated. Don't know what's happening in the fourth story, but based on the fifth story, I can kind of surmise. At the beginning of the fifth story, it said that he gave a blood transfusion to someone. So I'm thinking that would be the fourth issue. And that's what leads to the story of the fifth issue is I'm thinking that the main bad guy is some sort of leader of the fifth columnists. Because that's what it seems. Because they got Tom strapped to a bed. This is what he's saying. I have called you all here, comrades, to witness what I hope will be a great miracle, the rebirth of your chief as a strong and healthy man. Now, the nurse that is supposed to be helping the doctor helps out with killing the chief bad guy, and you find out that she's also a federal agent. And I don't know if Bilbara was going to put on any more, because at the ending caption of his last appearance in number 5, it says, he's talking to a federal agent, okay, brother, let's dig you up a wardrobe. This outfit you helped put out of business is one of the most dangerous spy rings in the country and led by none other than Count Ivan, I'm not even going to try and say his last name, known as the Butcher. Sorry we had to use you the way we did, but it was the only way we could get the whole gang at once. Coming, Tornado Tom Saves America. So, I would have liked to have seen issue number 6 that doesn't exist. And when he was talking about a wardrobe, I was wondering if Tornado Tom was actually going to get a costume. 1940s is the era of the costume superheroes. So, like I said, only 5 issues. The way he got his powers doesn't make any sense, except when you see in issue 2 that he may have been given his powers by Boreas. But, like I said, it's the only time it ever comes up, not mentioning anything else. And in each issue, he's introduced by being in the tornado for hours allows him to grab some semblance of the tornado and gain powers because of that. Now, it's disappointing that I can't find issue number 4 because there's a number of other heroes in this publication And I would like the cover, but number 4 is missing. So I'm only going to have 4 for if I cover more for the cover. But they do have a number of interesting people, as you can see on the very first cover. Tornado Tom, the Human Whirlwind, Voltron, the Human Generator. I like the idea of Red Knight, a Crusade Adventurer. I read one of the other ones, Koru, the Black Lion. I'm going to have to read the entire issue, but some of these things look interesting. So let's go ahead and get into this. I will cover the first issue, and you can see what they may have been going for. I am scouring the first page, and I do not see a name or created by or cursives or anything. I will even shift down to the last page of the first issue, and still nothing else. So let's go ahead and cover the first issue so you can see kind of what they were going with. I didn't like Tornado Tom in the first issue, and you'll see why, but he got a little better as I read on. So let's get into this. Before we get started about this, I was confused about some of the publications that are published under Hoyoke, which is where I originally found this comic book at. So I was looking at this, and Hoyoke wasn't created until 1943, and Bilbara put out the Cyclone comics in 1940. From what I have been able to find when I was looking at some comic books that have been tied to Hoyoke but are actually not part of it, Bilbara Publishing Company, one of the publisher Worth Camden companies, has often been erroneously tied to Hoyoke and Frank Z. Temerson companies because Charles Quinlan was involved in this and other Kaharan ventures and took the character's name Voltron, which is in the Cyclone comics, with him to Henlet, which is part of Hoyoke, and Henlet did the Catman. So Bilbara is not, in fact, Hoyoke comic books, but has been tied with them over the years because a creator who worked with them moved over to Hoyoke. So I thought that was an interesting bit of information if someone in the comments wants to tell me that Cyclone is part of Hoyoke. It's not. It has been mistakenly put as part of it, but it in fact is a different publishing company. So let's get on to covering the first appearance. Tornado Tom. Tom Kelly, an honest, hard-working young farmhand, is caught up by a cyclone and whirled about above the earth for hours. He is finally deposited in another state, unhurt except for a strange feeling of powers. He discovers that in some remarkable way the cyclone has imparted something of its strength and violence to him, making him the physical match for a dozen ordinary men and capable of great speed. Wow, I am dizzy. Be ye hurt, son. No, I guess I'm not. And he's talking to this farmhand. He says that he's been deposited into a field and asked it if he might be able to work for a meal. And he tells him that, let's see, you could use one more husky hand. Let's go to the bunkhouse. If you don't watch shows that relate to this, a hand is someone who works on the farm as a farm hand. And see, makes sense. Okay. So he goes into the bunkhouse and they start talking to him, and he's like, glad to meet y'all fellas, but I'll gander to meet this chow. And, you know, all he wants is some food, but they start fighting with him. And I think he goes a little too far. Tom gets to meet with blood in his eyes. He is mad clean, though. What? Okay. So he's choking one guy, throws him through the window, and he starts beating up all these other guys. There's no fighting in this bunkhouse. Anyways, Tom seems to have the strength of a dozen men. Now, why did I do that? I must be more careful. I'm too strong to play rough like this. Okay, so Apparently, he knew he was too strong before he even started, but he waylays everyone, knocks them all out, and doesn't get his food. Hey, what are you trying to do? Why, you maniac, get off my property or I'll take a shotgun to you. Like I said, there's no fighting in this bunkhouse. Watch too much TV. He says that he apologized, that he plays too rough, and he's thrown out, and he tries to flag down a car. Now, the car doesn't stop and does nearly run him over, but, I mean, he was the one who ran out in front of it. Tom tries to stop a car, but it whizzes past him, narrowly missing him. Now, there are criminals in this car, but the only reason Tom goes after the car is because they didn't pick him up. I don't like that kind of attitude. Tom suddenly starts to run after the fast disappearing car. He races at remarkable speeds, and some guy says, "Hey, there's a guy catching up to us. Are you nuts? We're doing 70. What the? I said I wanted a ride, and I'm gonna have one." Seriously? You can already run at 70 miles an hour. You don't need a ride. And the only reason you caught up with this car is because they didn't pick you up. Okay, so one of the driver tells him to shoot him. He says, "Plug him, Mike. He's got us." So Tom goes into the car and starts beating up the guys and causes the car to crash. Wow, that was a short trip. Now what? Oh my God. I'm glad it got better in the other issues. Looks as though my two companions didn't want to play anymore. Say, as a lot of dough for two such weaklings to be carrying around. Bet some bank would like to see this bag of chips. Chips? He called the money chips? Okay, he's standing there and he's holding up the bag of money, and it appears that some cops pull up. The cop cars in the 40s are really weird looking. I mean, this thing is green, and I think it's got sirens on top of it. So he flags down the police. There's the car, men smashed up. Cover this mug while I take a look. And he's like, "Hey, don't bother me. I didn't rob the bank. I just stopped the guys." Like I said, he knocked out the guys and he left them by the car. "If you're referring to me, I'm Tom. Who are you?" "Say, but you're a cool one. We happen to be police officers, Mr. Tom. Cops from Sumarest. Ever heard of Sumarest and the Third National Bank?" Cops don't talk like that. Not even back then. Okay, but since he has no memory, he doesn't know where they're talking about. But they want to get Tom and these guys back to headquarters. So Tom picks them up and goes, "Let's go. I suppose you'll be wanting these nice fellas. What are we waiting for?" And they take him back to the station. And Tom says, he's like, I don't have anything to do with this. I'm just hungry. "Chief, I believe this lad. Sounds queer to me. It sounds queer, I know, but I think friend Tom is sincere." I know that word didn't mean back then what it means now. It just hits my ear really weird every time I see it. It's just, yeah, I read these to myself, so it hits my ear really weird every time I see it. So he goes in and he gets himself a meal. "Say, this chow is good. It sounds screwy to me, fella, but the old man's boss. So you outran the auto, doing better than 70. Baloney." And we have a bit of a non sequitur ending here. As he's eating, another police officer says, "Hey, there's issue happening over at the factory," and Tom decides that he wants to be a part of it too, even though he's got no business butting into police business. He goes down to the factory and they see this guy inciting a riot at a local factory. I'm guessing this guy is probably like a fifth columnist or something, getting people to work agitated so they don't want to work, and it would stop, war efforts. The cops show up and they're met with violence. Tom arrives and gets into the fight. And I'll go ahead and read the last two panels here. "All over but the shouting. Here's the head rat. Say, kid, you're some whirlwind. Womp womp. Three cheers for Tornado Tom, the human whirlwind. Did you see this fella sail into that mob? Boy, oh boy, what a fight. Another Tornado Tom adventure next month. So, like I said, 5 issues, can only find 4. I hope you enjoyed this one. I found this one rather interesting. I'm always up to take requests if you have any of those. And until next time, I'll be seeing you.